The story starts with two siblings named Derry and Trish. After spending several months away at college, they're finally driving back home. The road is long, and the entire highway feels unusually quiet. Trish is in a terrible mood. She recently went through a breakup, and ever since the trip started, she's been sitting silently in the passenger seat, staring out the window. A long drive home slowly turns into something far more unsettling. Seeing how miserable his sister is, Derry tries to cheer her up. He suggests a simple road trip game. They start reading license plates on the vehicles ahead of them and guessing what words the letters might spell. It's a fun distraction, but it doesn't do much to improve Trish's mood. Then Derry looks at the license plate on a car ahead and jokingly says it probably spells fever. Trish disagrees. To her, it looks more like it could mean forever. They're still debating it when something suddenly appears in the rearview mirror, and that's when the peaceful highway stops feeling so peaceful. A large truck is racing toward them from behind. It's closing the distance so fast that it almost looks like the driver is trying to force their car off the road. The truck keeps getting closer and closer, with no sign of slowing down. Seeing the truck bearing down on them, Trish immediately panics and tells Derry to pull over. But Derry is stubborn. Instead of moving aside, he starts swerving slightly from one side of the lane to the other. Trish becomes even more nervous. She can't understand why he's acting this way when the situation is clearly getting dangerous. Eventually, Derry guides the car onto the shoulder. For a moment, it looks like the danger has finally passed. The truck roars past them and speeds ahead. As it moves in front of their car, both of them notice a message displayed on the truck. The phrase basically means, "beat you." The strange message immediately reminds Trish of an old story connected to this highway. She explains that back in 1978, two teenagers named Kenny and Darla mysteriously vanished during a road trip on this very stretch of road. At the time, a disturbing rumor spread through the area. Some stories fade away, others stay buried for a reason. According to the rumor, an unknown truck followed the teenagers that night. After that, they were never seen again. The memory leaves a knot of fear in Trish's stomach, but Derry brushes it off and says it's nothing more than an old rumor. Still, the highway suddenly feels a lot different than it did before. A little later, the two stop for a restroom break and then get back on the highway. Not long afterward, they spot the same mysterious truck parked beside an old, isolated church. As they look closer, they see the truck driver stuffing something strange into a large pipe and dumping it behind the church. Neither Derry nor Trish can make sense of what they're seeing. What they're witnessing doesn't look normal, and it definitely doesn't feel right. Then, suddenly, the driver notices them watching. The moment his eyes lock onto theirs, both of them panic. Derry slams on the gas, and they speed away from the church as fast as they can. At the exact same moment, the truck driver jumps back into his rig and starts chasing them. The truck rapidly closes the gap behind their car. Trish is terrified. She immediately tries calling the police, but her phone battery is almost dead, and just when they need help the most, their luck runs out. Before the call can connect, her phone shuts off completely. By now, the truck is right behind them. Then, only seconds later, it slams violently into the back of their car. But the driver isn't finished yet. The nightmare on the highway is only getting started. The driver keeps ramming the back of their car again and again. Eventually, one massive hit sends the vehicle completely out of control. The car spins off the highway and crashes into a nearby field. Somehow, Derry and Trish get incredibly lucky. Neither of them suffers any serious injuries. The crash is over, but the questions are only getting worse. Derry climbs out of the car and grabs a piece of cloth. He manages to tie down the damaged hood so it won't fly up while they're driving. Once everything is secured, he stands there thinking for a moment. Then he says something Trish never wants to hear. He thinks they should go back to the old church where they saw the strange truck driver. The idea immediately makes her angry. To her, it's way too dangerous. As far as Trish is concerned, they should be heading for the police. She insists they shouldn't take any risks and should drive to the next town and report everything. But Derry refuses to back down. He has too many unanswered questions. He wants to know who that man is and why he attacked their car. After a long argument, Derry finally convinces his sister. They turn the car around and start driving back toward the old church, and with every mile, they're heading closer to something they should probably avoid. A short time later, they arrive at the church. The large pipe is still there, the same one where they saw the truck driver dumping something earlier. Moving carefully, they walk over and peer inside, but the pipe is completely dark, making it impossible to see what's down there. At first glance, it seems like there's nothing there at all. After staring into the darkness for a while, both of them start thinking the pipe is probably empty. They begin walking away. Then, suddenly, a faint sound echoes from deep inside. The moment he hears it, Derry becomes convinced that something is down there. He immediately tells Trish to get a flashlight from the car. He wants to climb into the pipe and find out exactly what's hidden inside. The sound is small, but it's enough to change everything. Trish is terrified. She tries to stop him and says they need to leave immediately. In her opinion, staying here is completely unsafe, but Derry refuses to give up. He has to know what's inside that pipe. Eventually, Trish gives in. Derry tells her to hold tightly onto his legs from above so he can lean farther down and get a better look. Sometimes curiosity pushes people toward places fear tells them to avoid. Even though she's scared, Trish grabs hold of Derry's legs and braces herself. Derry slowly lowers himself into the pipe and starts looking into the darkness below. Then, suddenly, several rats burst out from inside. The sight catches him completely off guard, and he lets out a loud scream. One unexpected second is all it takes for everything to go wrong. Hearing his scream, Trish loses her balance. Startled and frightened, she accidentally lets go. Derry immediately falls straight down into the pipe. Standing above, Trish repeatedly calls out his name in panic. For a few moments, Derry is unconscious. Then, he hears his sister's voice and slowly comes to. After gathering himself, he realizes he isn't seriously hurt. For a brief moment, it seems like he escaped the fall unharmed. He looks up and tells Trish that he's okay. Then, he sweeps the flashlight beam across the area. A short distance away, he notices what appears to be a body wrapped in cloth. Terrified, Derry slowly approaches it. The instant he gets close, the figure suddenly moves and grabs his hand. Fear shoots through him, but he forces himself to stay calm and reaches for the cloth covering the face. And what he's about to uncover is far worse than he imagined. When Derry finally uncovers the face, he realizes it isn't a corpse at all. It's a young boy, and somehow he's still alive. Derry is stunned and can't figure out what happened to him. Then the boy starts pointing toward his stomach as if he's desperately trying to show him something. What Derry discovers next is almost impossible to process. As soon as Derry pulls back the cloth, he recoils in horror. The boy's stomach has been crudely stitched shut with thick thread. The child tries to say something, but only moments later, he dies right there in front of him. The sight leaves Derry completely shaken. He immediately yells up to Trish and tells her to get help from anyone passing by on the road. After that, he starts searching for a way out of the underground chamber. Every step reveals something more disturbing than the last. As he moves through the basement, he notices strange items scattered around. Old weapons, thick sewing thread, and large needles. Spider webs cover nearly every surface, making the entire place feel even more terrifying. Then, while walking, his shoelaces suddenly come untied. As he bends down to tie them, something wet drips from above and lands on his shoe, and in that instant, Derry slowly looks up. The moment he raises his eyes, fear rushes through him. Hundreds of bodies are hanging from the ceiling. As he stares at them, he recognizes some of the faces. Among them are Kenny and Darla, the same two teenagers Trish had talked about earlier during their drive. The old highway legend was never a legend at all. Meanwhile, Trish is standing near the car, desperately waiting for help. Then she notices a truck approaching in the distance. For a second, she thinks the dangerous truck has come back. Panicking, she jumps into the car and tries to start it, but the gear is stuck and the vehicle won't move. Moments later, the truck drives right past them and continues down the road. That's when she realizes it's just another truck passing through. For one brief moment, the fear turns out to be a false alarm. At the same time, Derry finally finds a way out and emerges from behind the church. The two quickly get back into the car and head toward the next town. Along the way, Trish keeps asking what happened down there, but Derry is still in shock. He can barely speak. All he manages to say is that the stories about people disappearing along the highway were completely true, and now they know exactly what happened to those who vanished. A while later, they arrive at a small roadside diner. As soon as they get out of the car, they look toward the road and spot the same terrifying truck heading back toward the church. The sight instantly rattles both of them, and they hurry inside the diner without wasting a second. The truck is gone again, but the fear never really leaves. Once inside, Trish asks the diner owner if she can use the phone so she can call the police and report everything that happened. She explains the entire situation, and after speaking with the authorities, both of them finally begin to feel a little relief. For the first time in a while, it seems like things might actually be okay. Then, suddenly, the phone rings again. Assuming it's the police calling back, they answer immediately, but the voice on the other end isn't who they expect. Instead, it's an unfamiliar woman. In a frightened voice, she warns them that they're still in danger. But Derry is already overwhelmed by fear and anger. He assumes someone is playing a cruel prank on them. Refusing to believe her, he hangs up the phone. Only a short time later, the police finally arrive at the diner. Unfortunately, the warning isn't over yet. Derry and Trish tell the police everything that happened. They explain that they saw hundreds of bodies inside the church basement, but the officers don't fully believe their story. While they're still talking, the diner owner walks over and
and asks them to come outside. Something has happened while they've been inside. When they reach the parking lot, they discover that their car doors are standing open. Their clothes have been pulled out of the vehicle and scattered all over the place. The diner owner tells them that a man came up to the car while they were inside. According to him, the man appeared to be searching for something. He was even smelling their clothes. Hearing that, Derry quickly starts gathering everything up and asks the police to examine the car more carefully. Now, even the smallest detail starts feeling important. As the officers inspect the vehicle, they notice strange marks on the door handle that look like they were made by sharp claws. At that point, the police begin taking the situation more seriously. They decide to place Derry and Trish under police protection and drive them back to the church so they can investigate for themselves. Everyone gets into their vehicles and heads toward the church, but along the way, strange movement suddenly begins on the roof of one of the police cruisers. Then, scratching sounds start coming from above, and whatever is on that roof isn't supposed to be there.
The officers have no idea what's happening overhead, so the female officer riding inside opens her window and tries to look up. The instant she leans out, something grabs her from above and violently pulls her upward. Everything spirals out of control in a matter of seconds. At the same moment, the roof of the patrol car rips open. A horrifying hand reaches inside and drags another officer out. Then something heavy crashes down onto the roof of Derry and Trish's car. The sudden impact terrifies them, and they immediately pull over to see what happened. When they step out and look ahead, they see the police cruiser completely destroyed. The truth waiting outside is even worse than they feared. What landed on their car turns out to be the severed head of a police officer. Then, the terrifying creature steps out from beside the wrecked cruiser. It picks up the severed head from the ground and begins sniffing it. The sight is so horrifying that Derry and Trish panic instantly. They waste no time, jump back into their car, and speed away. After driving for a while, they spot a house up ahead along the road. For the first time in a long while, they think help might finally be close. They pull over and approach the house. An elderly woman lives there. She opens the door and asks why they're there. Trish asks if they can use her phone because they need to call the police. Then, the entire house suddenly goes dark. Without warning, every light shuts off and darkness fills the property. Alarmed, the elderly woman asks if someone else is outside with them. Hearing that, Derry and Trish immediately look toward the field. In the distance, they spot what appears to be a scarecrow standing there. Suspicious, the woman rushes inside, grabs her shotgun, and fires at it. The moment she pulls the trigger, something impossible happens. As soon as the shot goes off, the scarecrow suddenly launches into the air and lands on the roof of the house. Somehow, it then finds a way inside. The elderly woman panics and runs into the house to save her cats. Derry and Trish remain outside, watching everything unfold. Moments later, a gunshot echoes from inside the house. Then, after a short silence, the elderly woman staggers back toward the front door, and the way she's moving tells them something is terribly wrong. When Derry and Trish get a closer look, they realize the woman is dead. Standing directly behind her is the same horrifying creature. The second they see it, the brother and sister sprint back toward their car. The creature is no longer hiding. It's coming straight for them. They desperately try to start the car, but once again the gear sticks and the vehicle refuses to move. At that exact moment, the creature swoops down and lands on the hood. The sight sends another wave of panic through both of them. Since the car won't move forward, Trish quickly throws it into reverse and starts backing away, but the creature refuses to let them escape that easily. A short distance away, it appears in front of them again and slowly starts walking toward the car. Frantically, Trish tries shifting gears one more time. This time, the transmission finally catches. She immediately slams her foot on the accelerator and drives straight at the creature. The car hits it head-on, sending it crashing onto the road. Fear and anger have completely taken over by now, so Trish drives over the creature again and again, determined to make sure it's finally dead. But some nightmares don't end just because they hit the ground. Derry finally tells Trish to stop. The two immediately leave and drive straight to the nearest police station. Once they arrive, the first thing they do is call their family and tell them everything that has happened. For the first time, they finally seem safe. While they're there, Derry notices dozens of photographs hanging on the wall. Every picture belongs to a missing person. As he studies the faces, he slowly begins to understand something horrifying. The people who disappeared throughout the area over the years weren't simply missing. They had all fallen victim to the same terrifying creature. Then, an unusual woman walks into the police station, and somehow she already knows exactly who they are. The moment she enters, she calls Derry and Trish by name. Both of them are shocked because they've never met her before. Wondering how she knows them, they listen as she explains that she's the same woman who called them at the diner. She tells them she has a special ability that allows her to see certain events in her dreams before they happen. That's how she already knew what they were about to face. case. She also reveals that the creature isn't human at all. It's a demonic being that awakens once every 23 years, and suddenly, everything they've seen starts making terrible sense. Then the terrifying truck pulls up outside the police station. The moment the driver steps out, every light in the station suddenly goes out, plunging the entire building into darkness. Seeing this, one of the officers quickly switches on the emergency generator, restoring some of the power, but the darkness has already brought something inside. Around the same time, another officer heads over to check the holding cells. As he looks into one of them, he freezes. The same monstrous creature is inside, brutally feeding on a prisoner. The sight leaves him horrified, and he immediately opens fire, but the bullets have absolutely no effect. Meanwhile, the mysterious woman tells Derry and Trish about another dream she had. This warning is even worse than the last one. According to her vision, one of them is going to die. She urges them both to come with her. Derry and Trish think about it for a moment before finally agreeing. The three of them begin trying to escape. At the same time, several more officers arrive at the station and start heading toward the basement to hunt down whatever has entered the building. Unfortunately, they're walking straight toward the thing they're trying to stop. The officers send one of their partners ahead to investigate. The moment he moves forward, the creature suddenly attacks. It violently tears out his heart and continues moving without slowing down. Nothing in the station is capable of stopping it. A short time later, the creature reaches the room where Trish, Derry, and the mysterious woman are hiding. The instant it enters, it attacks. First, it grabs the mysterious woman and begins sniffing her, but whatever it's searching for isn't there, so it lets her go. Then it slowly turns toward the brother and sister. Now, the creature is closer than it has ever been. It approaches Trish first and sniffs her as if it's searching for something specific, but moments later, it releases her. Then, without warning, it grabs Derry instead, and in that instant, Trish realizes who it truly wants. Seeing this, Trish starts screaming at the creature. Terrified and furious, she begs it to let her brother go. She even tells it to take her instead. The creature pauses and studies her for a few moments. For a second, it almost feels like it might listen. Then suddenly, it smashes through a window and leaps outside. Carrying Derry with it, the creature takes to the air. Trish immediately runs after them, but there's nothing she can do. All she can do is stand there helplessly and watch as the creature flies higher and higher into the night sky with her brother. The nightmare reaches its final and most heartbreaking moment. Sometime later, the story returns to the old church. Deep inside the basement, hundreds of bodies still hang in the darkness, and that's where it's revealed that Derry has been killed as well. And with that devastating discovery, the story comes to an end. Some stories don't end when the screen goes dark. They stay with you in the silence that comes after. Because surviving the horror was only part of the tragedy. Living with it is something else entirely. If stories like this stay in your mind long after they're over, stay with KTS Mosan. Some wounds heal, some memories don't.